And the better, kinder, friendlier town you have, tourists remember it and they come back. So, you know, the best thing you can do about tourism, clean your town up. I think how you treat the bottom part of your society is a reflection of how you care. You know, if we really care, we would not be doing that. It's just absolutely insulting to me as a member of the public to think that somebody would stay in a position for 20, 30 years and them not look at the rest of the population and say that there are no other more valuable people out there. That's an insult to the population.
As part of our series of in-depth interviews with candidates for Humboldt County Supervisor, Arcata Councilmember Paul Pitino, candidate for 3rd District Supervisor, sat down with the Editorial Board of the Humboldt Sentinel here at Has Beans Cafe last week.
Big thing. What big primary item do you come to? I go, you know, economic development. Starting at the bottom. We have a bus system that actually runs in this county 7 days a week, late night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. We have just improved the the economic situation for the bottom of the economic pyramid. All those kids that have to ride to Bayshore Mall, drive to Bayshore Mall to work from McKinleyville and Arcata and now, and CR, they can ride the bus. And if we don't give them that option on Sunday now, and that's a shame.
We're going to give them an option on Saturday.
Sort of. Almost an option. Doesn't go into CR on Saturday.
So, yeah.
You know, I'm real aware of the bus thing, and I'm critical of myself as much as anybody else. I've sat on that board for years now trying to figure out how do we do all this. And, you know, that's one of the reasons I'm running for supervisor. I think that I can apply a little more pressure and make it happen. The county has way more money than little cities. They can't do it independently. You know, one of the things that I mentioned to Time Standard was, I said, you know, here's the irony. The county was able to cough up money through REDEC and through future revenues to Delta to come here, so we got a 3rd airline. And what part of the economic pyramid is affected and subsidized by that? The people on the top. Christ, you know?
Do you think with rising fuel costs there really is a future for ecotourism or any kind of tourism industry?
Yeah, I think the idea of pushing tourism at this moment is absolutely crazy. We need to, you know, it's kind of like circle the wagons, times are tough, let's take care of each other, and if people want to come visit, okay, come visit. But, you know, spending money to get people here, or with that 3rd airline subsidizing people to travel on an airline, most inefficient way to travel. I mean, it's ridiculous. So here's the irony. I fly in on the 3rd airline, go to take the bus home. Oh, it's Sunday. Too bad. The stop is right in front. So coordinating transportation is important. You know, if you're going to have an airport running 7 days a week, you know, almost 24 hours. What's with the transportation that gets you there? And the positive effects of not covering up more ground for parking spaces? You know, that parking lot's just going to keep growing until, you know, it takes over most of the immediate area around the airport. Every airport you've ever been to, the same way. Parking lots grow, airport gets busier, more money for a segment of the population, and the rest of the people, well, you know, too bad for
But actually, I like SFO. Because you can go to San Francisco. Yeah, when I go down to visit my dad in San Francisco, I can get on. He lives in the East Bay in Walnut Creek.
Now that we have Bart finally at the airport, yes.
He can, yeah.
It didn't go to the airport before, remember?
Yeah, I know that. I know that.
Yeah,
and it did cost a lot of money to get it.
Right, but you know, without the connection either to city frequently or to frequently used spaces, a transportation system isn't that great. I think we have close to a whole transportation system, and I think if I could in 4 years make that a complete system, amen, I'm happy. You know?
Now you say the county has most of the money, but HTA itself, as you all know, being on the HTA board, is pretty dominated by these smaller cities to the south of your district, Fortuna, Rio Dell, etc. How are you going to get them to pony up the political support or the money?
Well, you know what? I think that what happens, the same thing that happened with the Jack Pass. The money came from Humboldt State. Humboldt State says, here's the money. HTA says,
We'll match it.
let's do it. They didn't match it at all.
Really?
Just took the money and said, fine, we'll run more buses. And we'll analyze this over a year and decide whether we need more or less money or whatever. But at this point,
How come CR's been always so resistant to it?
I think it's administration in the past. And we're working on changing that. We've had discussions with CR, and I am like reminding them that if they need help in the discussion, I'm available.
You think they'd be better able to work with the new president there?
I think so. The idea of the smaller areas like Trinidad, Rio Dell, Ferndale, or not Ferndale, but Trinidad, Rio Dell, Fortuna, having input or concern about the bus system, I think we need to address the outreaches of the county. You know, it's not a good system if it doesn't reach most of the county. And if that means one bus a day goes an extra 10 minutes down there, well, maybe that's what has to happen. I mean, the big complaint in Garberville is can't get out of there at all. So I think that when you have a backbone, good system, then you can run these little spiral or circles of local systems to connect to it. A good example is the new Trinity County bus. It's getting you from Weaverville to Willow Creek, and we'll get you from Willow Creek to anywhere that RTS runs.
Okay.
So yeah, so we now have there's a new little system that's.
And that route's partially successful because all the students who go to Arcata High and McKinleyville High are taking that bus at 6 something in the morning, coming back in the afternoon.
Right, and college students realize, oh, we can go ride out and party out there, and we don't have to drive home and kill
ourselves. Idea of pony up with the casinos too, because the casinos run buses around.
Yeah, and the Tribal Transportation Commission that just opened up. They just were created a month or so ago, and I was at the event because it's coming from HTA, and they really seriously want to get together and start hooking their 9 tribes up, and you know, that coupled them bringing people into the RTS stop, RTS being the backbone, and maybe we need to look at a survey of the whole bus system in this county and say, all right, how can it be better? Eureka Transit, in some ways, I would rather see RTS run some of those routes because it's more, it's more sensible for RTS to run some of the long routes and maybe add routes. I think one of the reasons that ETS is not used in volume compared to RTS is because of the way the routes are.
And I think it's because it doesn't transfer at the hub in the city. It transfers over at
Henderson
Center instead of down here.
Exactly. And you know, another glaring example of, you know, today's a good example. We have an event in Samoa at noon. So I'd take a road warrior. I can't ride the bus because I can't get to Samoa, and we're gonna have a giant development in Samoa without coughing up for transportation loop into there. You know, that's really not okay. Same thing with Cutton and the development that's proposed down there.
And also
there needs to be a bus loop through there that makes sense, and not just say, oh, there's buses somewhere around. No, you're going to do a big development. You provide transportation. Should be one of the mitigation measures in order to allow that to happen.